This is for Adam, who writes. Let's get to the questions, basically. Um, what steps can you help? Can you give to help me better understand the possibly the lore of what I'm feeling? And he's talking about a sudden interest in Judaism, um, and or learn about Judaism as a whole. I understand the process of conversion is hard, which should down the line I choose to do would willingly accept. In the Christian faith, you can change churches on a almost weekly basis. I want to make sure I have the proper preparation to begin to receive this guidance. Um, yeah, if you know the and let me get to your second question so I get tied into the first one. The only Jewish synagogue in my area is Reformed. I do not have an understanding of the intricacies of the three major denominations, but prefer to immerse myself in the more Orthodox tradition if I choose to do so. The nearest Orthodox synagogue to my town is about an hour and a half away. Considering the apparent strength of the community in the Jewish tradition, I'm a little torn on what to do with this information and would love your input. Okay, so basically, I don't compare anything to Orthodox Judaism. Anything else within Judaism to Orthodox Judaism. Orthodox Judaism is the only sect, and within Orthodox you can bring many labels if you want. There's modern Orthodox. There's something called Machmir, which is more stringent. There's Haredi, which is a higher level religious apparently, and there's Hasidus, and there's all this Hasidim, and there's all these types of labels, which I stay away from labels. But I'll tell you, there's one sect of Jews. They're called Orthodox Jews across the board, and they believe that we still have to listen to God Almighty and His will as it's explained in the Torah, and as it was elucidated further through the commentaries throughout the ages in the Talmud and the Shulchan Aruch and all the commentaries that came afterwards. That's the only sect of Judaism I feel qualified to comment on, because the only one I respect. And you have to understand, I was brought up in what's called conservative Judaism. I went to conservative thing, and I even experimented a little with Reform and even with Reconstructionists, which is the newest branch. However, I don't feel right commenting on those because I don't have any reverence for them. To me, it just seems that they pick and choose what they want to do and what they don't want to do, and they put this fancy label of Judaism on it, this attractive label, and they think they're actually getting spirituality when in fact, in my opinion, they're getting nothing more than this American democratic society of let's elect and pick what we think is important to us and what we feel that we should be doing. It takes God totally out of the picture, in my opinion, and it makes you your own master, whereas Judaism, the concept is God is your master. God is above you. It says that we were taken out of Egypt not so we could be free men. We were serving Pharaoh. We were slaves to Pharaoh. However, God took us out not so we could be wild men and free men and eat bacon and do whatever we want, so that God will be our king. That's why He took us into the desert of Sinai, and that's what He gave us by the mountain of Sinai, the 613 commandments that forever we'd be responsible for. So in terms of Orthodox Judaism, that's what it is. So that's why when you and in terms of now in terms of conversion, you mentioned this concept by the churches. You can switch on a weekly basis. I'll tell you something right away. If you were to convert an Orthodox conversion to Judaism, it's not, you can't switch back. And once you do that, if you decide to go back to your old ways, it's a very severe punishment. In Judaism, a convert is seen as someone who right now has a Jewish soul and was born to non-Jewish parents, but has searched out the truth and has found that his soul is Jewish. And because his soul is Jewish, he feels an obligation, he feels a closeness to the divine presence, as it's expressed in the 613 commandments that God gave to the Jewish people at the mountain of Sinai. So this ties into your question of why do you feel this allure. And this is just me projecting, this is just me guessing. I don't know you on any kind of personal level. And I don't know exactly what you mean. Only you're with your psyche 24 hours a day, and only you can properly explain what you're feeling and how you're feeling. I did read your message, but I'm just telling you, you know yourself only, and I can just tell you what a convert to Judaism is. It's someone who currently has a Jewish soul, but was somehow born to non-Jewish parents, but has sought out the truth. And for this reason, by the way, in Judaism, we believe that the converts have the highest level souls. If God sees a soul is going to simply say yes to everything his father and mother tell him to do, then he's brought down into a body of a religious family, so he can keep the Torah. If God sees a soul as a little higher potential, and he can handle a little more challenges in life, he brings him into a body where the family is going to question what he's doing because the family is secular, and every person has to eventually become religious and return to God and observe the Sabbath and keep kosher and all these things, and put on tefillin if he's a man, and go to mikveh if he's a woman. So that's what it is. So if a person is a convert, if God sees he can even answer his family and his friends and his whole society, because you should know something, like they say about homosexuals, that why would anyone choose this life? Because simply you get ridiculed to no end. The same thing by Jewish people. Why would anyone choose to be a Jewish convert when there's nothing stronger in the world than anti-Semitism, hatred of the Jewish people, an irrational hatred that even the non-Jews themselves can't explain many times. So you're choosing, a convert is choosing to go into a sect that's the most despised on the face of the nation, and the face of the earth, and has been so for many, many generations. History is replete with Jewish bloodshed simply because we're Jewish. and they come after us with swords and the cross, convert or die, and all these accusations of you're a cancer in our midst, and we've been expelled from every single country basically we've been in until 1948, and hopefully we won't be expelled by there unless our enemies take us over and God forbid and push us into the sea like they've been wanting to do since the establishment of the Jewish state. So I'm just telling you, it's not a light decision, and you seem to have a grasp of this. You seem to understand this. It's something you cannot undo once it's done. But we would only be doing it actually if your soul right now is a Jewish soul, and if it is, you really have no choice, because you're just going to keep on wondering, what about Judaism? What about Judaism? In terms of starting to practice and guidance, the only way to do this really properly is to consult an Orthodox rabbi. I am not a rabbi. Just consult one. You can find one. A link for your website that has centers all around the world. And even though if one might be an hour and a half, like you say, away from you, you're still able to call him, and he'll have an email, maybe in a phone, and he'll talk to you happily, proudly about these things. And don't be discouraged. If he turns you away, this is the general practice. It used to be a secret, but now everyone knows, so it's okay to publicize it. I was told that it used to be a secret. We have to turn away a convert 3 times or reject his conversion attempt. But then after that, we see he's sincere, and then we can accept him. In terms of learning, I always say, depending on your background, and again, this is best discussed with an Orthodox Jewish rabbi, but depending on your background, it's very important to know the basic texts, and not the text like you may have learned them in the King James Version, but the text in the original language or with a proper translation. Like there's a book called, what's the really good one? The Living Torah by Aryeh Kaplan. An amazing, amazing translation. That's probably my favorite one. But there's other ones, other Orthodox versions. Make sure it's an Orthodox version. I think Stone Chumash is one that's the Orthodox. Gutnik Chumash is a new one that came out. It's also Orthodox. Those are the main ones that I would recommend. And then from there, there's basic things like, I would even say, and these are even now translated. There's a book called Derech Hashem, The Path of Hashem by Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, the Ramchal. There's also a book called Chavot Levavot, The Duties of the Heart. These are books that are based really. The second one is really a good Musar book. A good book of Musar is guidance, whatever. I don't know how to translate Musar, but it's a book that really, in the beginning of the book, he itemizes for you, he delineates what we believe and why we believe it, and he proves to you exactly why we believe what we believe. Another book you might want to read is the Kuzari. The Kuzari was a book. There was a famous king. He had a kingdom, and he wanted to know which is the true religion. This was one of the 3 monotheistic religions. So he invited a rabbi and a priest and a cleric, a Muslim cleric, to debate with him, to have publicly debate which is the authentic religion. He decided that Judaism was from the debate, and you can read the debate, it's all recorded. And he actually converted, and actually many people in his kingdom converted too. I don't know if he forced them, which would be interesting, but that's what happened there. And these are basic texts. From there you go into, eventually you'll start learning about halacha, Jewish law, through Shulchan Aruch and things like this, the Code of Jewish Law, which now is translated, so it's easy to get a grasp of. Eventually you'll have to learn Hebrew, not have to, but you'll want to learn Hebrew to understand text in the original. There's nothing more beautiful or perfect than the Hebrew language, so I would suggest that. And that's it. I hope God Almighty bless you on your journey, whatever you end up deciding, whatever you feel is right for you. This is just an opinion of an Orthodox Jew. Of course, if you were to talk to the Reformed rabbi or the Conservative rabbi or the Reconstructionist rabbi, then they would have their own takes. And I, of course, again, am not a rabbi. Thank you so much, and may God bless you in everything you do.